I'm on a journey to get better, and I want to do it with you. And I'm not just focusing on physical health. I'm focusing on everything: emotional wellness, spirituality, finances, relationships, and so much more. Every week, it will be my personal goal to bring us, the world's leading healers, experts, and game changers, to share groundbreaking secrets and tips to getting better in all areas of life. Getting better isn't easy, but it's a whole lot easier when we can do it together. Welcome to Better Together with me, Maria Menounos. Welcome to Better Together. Not going to be as fun as yesterday, guys, but
It's going to be more fun.
it's a whole new day. It's hump day.
Hey.
No music.
I need to create buttons.
You know what I'm like, I'm in it, and I'm like, it's hump day. And I was like, oh, he's going to kick some music in. It's going to be amazing. And then I was like,
I have failed you. I was just thinking about that. I need to create like some basic tracks that we can have for the moods.
Yes.
Like clouds moving across the sky.
Whatever. I'm into anything. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for being with us. It is May 6th, 2020. Our quote of the day: everyone has inside of him a piece of good news. The good news is that you don't know how great you can be, how much you can love, what you can accomplish, and what your potential is. I love this quote. That is by Anne Frank. Good one. Very good one.
Figured it fit for today. We're talking good news today. A lot of it.
We are. We have the founder of the Good News Movement on the show today. I'm very excited to talk to Michelle Figueroa, a fellow first gen, a fellow Bostonian. Before we get to that, thank you guys, of course, for being with us here every day. This started as our sane kind of hour where we expanded the show a couple more days a week so that we could be together. And now it's kind of like becoming normal.
Right? We're in the swing of things now.
Well, now it's like, okay, like we're daily now. Like at first, like I thought maybe it would be like a 2-week thing. So we're 2 months in. And the coronavirus isn't really going anywhere. Is anyone else having nightmares, like, or waking up, grinding your teeth, and thinking of murder hornets coming at you, or the people you love, or the animals you love? Is it just me?
I think there's people out there, but for now, yeah, that's just you.
Yeah, I feel like I have this this thing where everything that's going on in our day is so kind of obsessively in my brain that I can't deprogram at night. And so like I wake up and I'm like, I'll see a vision of them coming at me, or I'll see a vision of them going at Max, and then how am I going to kill it? So like last night I was obsessed with how would I kill the murder hornet if it was coming at me? Because it's like a hand coming at you.
Oh, God.
Right? So I'm visualizing a hand. You can't really swat it. You can't run from it because it feels like almost like a superhero. Like no matter what you do, I dove into the pool at one point in my mind, by the way. This is all in my brain. So maybe I'm like crazy, but whatever. I dove into the pool and it dove in with me and it got me in the water. And,
Wow.
and then... But these aren't real dreams. These are me awake dreaming, like kind of envisioning what it could be. Like I'm always thinking in my head, how would I get out of a scenario?
You're running
right?
like situational, what would you call that?
Situational.
Like exercises.
Yeah. Like I always think, okay, if someone, broke into the house, what would I do? Like I'll obsessively think about how I'm going to handle things and what my plans are and whatever, until I get something that I'm comfortable with. So right now I'm not really comfortable with what my solution is to the murder hornets. And so I was like, okay, let me just be like everybody else and just be blissfully unaware that they're here, or be like, it's not gonna be a problem. Why are we stressing about it? So then I'd try that and I would like tell my body to calm down. And then the murder hornets would come back. And I'm like, okay, I can always have one of those electric fly swatters in my hand. You know, those ones that like electrocute them?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'll whack it with that. And I'm like, but what if that's not enough?
What if you come across a Bruce Banner murder hornet and that just turns it into the Hulk hornet?
I'm telling you, I don't know why, but this is what goes through my head, guys. I need to like deprogram all of this horrible news. And that's what this show is all about today, is focusing on the good news in the world. As another bit of good news, the the New York subway got its first shutdown cleaning in I think like 100+ years. I saw that. I won't pull it up for the exact dates, but I think it was like 115 years. It had never been shut down, and they're cleaning it like crazy so that they could reinstill, confidence in people to use the railways.
Well, I know that
imagine what they're finding in there, or imagine how dirty.
They were being used as homes during this quarantine.
Wait, what?
The New York subway has been being used as homes for the homeless.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, not by choice, but because the staff was not working and they had a skeleton crew running the subway system during quarantine, it was slowly becoming its own camp under the ground, where anyone who was using the subway was like, oh, there's so many videos online of people
Wait, no, I saw people down there. I thought you meant like the city used that.
No, the city wasn't using it, but
no, people, I saw pictures of people down there. Yeah.
I think it wasn't even the coronavirus. I think there is now an active health risk to use the subways without a cleaning.
Yeah.
Because
I believe that was always pretty much there. I was never a big fan of subways. Yeah, it's so that's good, right? It's going to be clean.
Yeah.
I think that's exciting. I really think yesterday I watched back some of the show yesterday, and I never get to do that, but I kind of wanted to see how everything was flowing and stuff. I was getting DMs from people about my dad. They're like, I die for him, and he is the cutest thing in the world. My dad's the best.
Costas kills.
It's making me miss my parents. I know it's a lot for you all to be quarantined together, but I'm lucky. I'm close to my parents. And I haven't seen them since 2019, so it makes me excited for the next time I see them, whenever that is.
Where's the Costas podcast?
I know. Well, Kevin was saying to me, he goes, Maria, he's like, everybody loves your dad. Why don't you incorporate him into the show more? I'm like, I never thought about it. I should. He's too freaking funny. He's the cutest thing in the world. P.S. almost 76 and could outwork, outrun, outdo anyone at any age. He's a beast.
He's like Noah. He could build the ark.
Yeah, he really could.
He could build the ark in like 3 days.
He really could. And it was fun to have my mom in here. And I might have died in the middle of the night having situational whatever, replaying some of this too.
The crunchiness.
And hearing her crunch into the microphone. Unknowingly eating her crispy quesadilla. I think I peed myself laughing multiple times about that.
We had Mr. Patreon in his onesie.
Mr. Patreon. If you guys missed yesterday's show, it really is a worthy look back. Just to have a little bit of fun. Kevin, Mr. Patreon, was all dressed up. He graced us with his presence. He only is available for our Patreon listeners now. He's very exclusive, so it was a big deal to get him out. And so, yeah, it was really funny. I spent the rest of the day in bed sleeping.
How many margaritas did you have?
It wasn't even the margaritas. It was just so much to get everything going and setting everything up. I mean, it was a lot.
I mean, you were hustling from 7 a.m. onward, right?
Yeah, I was cooked. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to bed. And so I watched it in bed, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun yesterday, actually. I really liked it.
We'll do more shows like that.
Yeah.
And we'll make you do everything again.
Perfect. Thanks. It is a lot. That's why I like hosting. I love hosting parties and events, and we've talked about this, but it is a lot of work, and I'm really good at it. I know how to have a fun party, the atmosphere, the lighting, the music, the snacks. I know how to make sure everything's delicious, everything looks great, but it is a lot of work to do. So even if I have 4 people over for a barbecue, oh my God, the work that goes in, because of course, I have citrus trees. I'm not going to give people fake orange juice or fake cranberry, fake juices. I'm going to make my fresh juices. That's a process. Then it's well, I also have the mints and the rosemaries in the garden. I'm going to pick those for garnishes. And then, we need the cute mason jars. I really go all out for everything I do. But
it's fun. And, speaking of a party, tomorrow's show is going to be equally high production and equally great. We have the wonderful Gianna De Laurentiis on to help us coach us through some Mother's Day pancakes.
Yes. So here's the deal, guys. Tomorrow is our Mother's Day episode. So if you don't have ideas for Mother's Day, I'm coming up with my gift guide for you that you can hustle up and make happen very quickly. And then also Giada De Laurentiis, who's a good friend of mine, is going to come on the show, and we are going to simultaneously make lemon buttermilk pancakes. And my mom is going to be very excited about this. I might let her cheat and have a little bit. So, yeah, it'll be fun. So that'll be a good show. And now that we've christened our, bar grill area, I'll just be demoing right over there.
Perfect.
Because we know how to do it now.
We don't want to have Costas come in and cook it.
You know what? I could. I actually should have my dad come in and do it with me.
You could backseat cook again.
You know what? I should have my dad come back in, and maybe my mom. My mom, it's hard for her at this point because usually she's sleeping. She's very tired. So she gets up, she has her boost of energy, and she'll sit outside for a little bit in the morning. She'll eat her breakfast, take her vitamins, and then she's out cold for a little while. And so it's hard for her. Maybe I'll be able to get her for a few minutes tomorrow, and then we'll send her on her nap away. But anyhow, all right. Shall we get to our interview? I mean, I do know there's one other thing I did want to talk about before we get to that, actually, and that is the fact that we are, I guess, reopening California on Friday in a limited capacity.
A very limited capacity. It's kind of interesting what they're reopening. It's like sporting goods stores and like curbside pickup for florists. It's interesting. I was reading an article in the LA Times yesterday. I included some highlights from that article in your rundown, Maria, but I am a little wary about it. I mean, like, we have had increased deaths every week except for last week, and we were only marginally less than the peak. It feels like, I know we need to reopen. I'm like first in line to say I'd love to go to the beach. I'd love to, play a round of 9 holes golfing. But I'm nervous about it.
There's been some weird stuff too, though, with the hospitals and with everything going on in terms of tracking the data, though. In the past week, we found out that, for one, they're not counting unique positive tests. They're counting all positive tests. So, like, when you hear a number like 15,000 positive tests in California, that could have been one person being tested 3 or 4 or 5 times trying to get out of the hospital and test negative to be able to leave.
No way.
And then also hospitals are getting greater subsidies for deaths or related to coronavirus. So they're being incentivized to report deaths as coronavirus-related deaths. So our healthcare system is actively shooting itself in the foot for money at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and then the whole exposed CBS thing that's trending right now. I don't know if you guys saw, but apparently CBS started kind of faking things for their shoot, like faking coronavirus testing lines with cars. And
the news did that?
It was very, very disappointing. But, oh man, let's get to the good news.
We were doing so well, too.
We were doing so well.
We had imaginary murder hornets and everything.
Guys, I'm telling you, this is what goes on in my brain. I think I should have someone test my brain. Maybe there's a problem.
We can always bring the EMDR specialists back on.
I feel like I'm institutionalized. So, like, all I'm thinking about is, like, and I rage against it. I'm, as we talked with Lala yesterday, I'm constantly raging against that, like, bad information and, the fear mongering and stuff, but it does seep through sometimes. In the last couple days, it's been like stuck in there, and you're like, the murder hornets just got me. That's when I just was like, okay, I can't.
Well, like, wasps are so hard to kill. I can't imagine how hard these things are.
I want to cry. I keep imagining like a small dog like flying through the air at me.
Just picture Winnie.
It's so big. No, that's how I get myself out of it. You guys are going to think I'm nuts, but when I have these horrible thoughts and I need to shift so I can sleep, I think of Max's smile. I think of Winnie's smile. Winnie, actually, if you watch South Park, which Stephen, I know you do, Winnie reminds me of Nate sometimes. Mimsy. And I cry laughing. This morning she looked just like Nate with her like face and her hair cut. Anyway, even though her hair's not cut, I trimmed it. Yeah, I shift out with them. I shift out with my friend Ashley sent me a video of this German Shepherd. Oh my God, he's an angel and he's so gorgeous. And a butterfly always lands on his nose and then opens and closes on his nose. And the shepherd just sits there like this with his eyes, kind of closed. And he's so happy and the butterfly's so happy. And apparently it happens all the time. And I'm like, because he's an angel. Like the shepherd is an angel.
Max would rip the thing to shreds.
No, Max is an angel too. He knows he has a job to protect his mommy.
Lucifer was an angel at one point.
Oh God. Yeah, Max this morning came over to the bed. They all woke me up this morning and Max wanted to, I was like, come here. And I was trying to just get his snout over to me. Instead, he put his whole half of his body on me. And I went to pat him and I felt the side of him was wet. I'm like, oh, he must have had a wet dream last night.
Oh.
So sometimes if he's dreaming and he pees a little, it's like a little pee puddle next to him. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell Max I told you is basically my point.
Little Max.
Max.
Yeah, never mind.
My guy. He's my best friend, guys. Okay. Now that we've turned the beat around with animal talk, this is what gets me so happy. Let's talk Michelle Figueroa. She's a Boston journalist. She is the founder of the Good News Movement with a heart for uplifting content and a head for news. Michelle created the Instagram page for Good News Movement about a year and a half ago. And the page now has over 1 million followers and was even spotlighted by the Sussex royal family account back in January. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you, Maria?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Enjoying a little bit of sunlight. It's much appreciated in New England. Whenever there's sun, people, they go outside and they feel like they need to absorb every single ounce of warmth there is. So.
I know. I remember vividly living in Boston, and it was a brutal experience weather-wise, and the second it got warm, we were like animals. So Michelle, I obviously we have a lot of kind of common ground. We've both been journalists. We're both first generation, both from Boston. You were working, it sounds like kind of freelance for CNN in their kind of
I'd call it permalancing is, I guess, the term. So I'm their correspondent, but since I'm in Boston and it's for international news, I wouldn't work every day. It was kind of on call. So it was more or less, most of the stories I did were stories that I'd pitch to the network.
Got it. And did you go to school in Boston as well?
I did, yeah.
Where
I
did
went
you
to
go?
Northeastern.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So we both went stateside as well. I went to Emerson.
Oh, nice.
I love that. And so
yeah, my Colombian mom didn't want me to go far. She's like, you're not leaving the state.
I fully understand. My parents were like, 5-6 miles. Okay, we can deal with that. And so
exactly.
I had to fight so hard. Northeastern's kind of a commuter school, right? Like there's no dorms, so you had to go home.
Well, there was dorms. Yeah, actually, they kind of overestimated how many dorms, and they had me at Simmons College for a year by mistake. So I was close to home. My mom's still in Needham. So
got it. Yeah, my cousin had to intervene and be like, listen, you got to cut the umbilical cord. You got to let her go to school. Like she needs to live there. How he convinced them, I don't know, but I got to live there, which was awesome. And
Liberty.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really nice. But, I wonder, when did you decide to start this? And was it supposed to be, it feels like it's got to be your full-time thing now.
It is now, yes. I mean, I still go and do reports and still producing and reporting. But yes, I decided a year and a half ago. I was in bed, pretty miserable with the flu, and kind of one of those moments where you can't do much except for think and reflect upon what you want to do. And I thought, well, I'm always gravitating toward uplifting stories. All the stories that I pitch the network were, for the most part, uplifting stories that showed the good in humanity. So I figured, why not create a space, a centralized space, meet people where they are. They're on their phones 4 hours a day, and create kind of a convening space for people to see all the good that there is in the world and to have a more balanced view. It's not all doom and gloom. So I launched it a year and a half ago from bed under a pile of tissues.
Well, are you sure it was the flu and not the coronavirus back then? You never know now.
I hope not. You never know. I give myself credit for being a great survivor then.
So you decided to launch this. Was it on Instagram first?
Yes, I decided to launch it on Instagram, and it just took off. I mean, I think about 2 months in, Tom Brady, I was sitting in my living room, and Tom Brady, he posted a picture of a man whose home burnt down in the California wildfires, and the only thing he saved was his Brady jersey. So
Oh,
Tom
yeah, I
was
remember
looking.
that.
Do you remember?
Yes.
So I thought, well, here, I'm sitting on my sofa. I'm a reporter. Let me track him down. So I tracked the guy down and said, hey, Tom Brady is looking to get in touch with you. And well, he was flabbergasted. I connected them, and then Tom shouted out to me on his Instagram. And then overnight, I had a legion of Patriots fans, which was kind of funny. So that kind of helped jumpstart it.
I love that. I remember that vividly because we were having a lot of fires in California, and I had stashed my Tom Brady signed jersey at my safe deposit box.
That's funny.
And then I had a suitcase to go with my signed football, and everybody was laughing at me. They're like, what do you mean you have a stashed suitcase? I'm like, oh yeah, I have a suitcase with all my most important things, like my Tom Brady signed football, my photo albums, and a few hard drives. And they were dying laughing. So I remember that vividly. So you always were gravitating to upward lifting kind of content. What was the thing that surprised you most when you launched this?
Well, I think also I should say, as a network reporter, a lot of times my pitches would get cut. I'd have a beautiful story, but because of the limited time in the newscast, my story would get cut and it wouldn't really find a home. So I was kind of sitting on this like treasure trove of all these wonderful stories. I mean, eventually I went to New York Post and some other networks, but I figured there's so many beautiful stories and they're happening with our neighbors, in our own communities. Why not amplify them? So, when I started, I think I kind of just didn't have super high or lofty expectations, which was helpful in not getting too discouraged. I just kind of was like, head down, let me just share the stories and encourage the followers to send their stories, right? Because the word movement is in the title because the followers play a very active role. They're sending me their stories. They're becoming videographers, producers, and sending me stories of their kids, of their classmates, of their neighbors. So I think it's helpful that the followers play a very active role. And I think people, it's a beautiful thing. Right now, a lot of us are inside and we want to get a glimpse of what's happening around the rest of the country. So it's really great to see people sharing their own stories of people that might not have made the newscast or the newspaper. So
yeah, I mean, that's why I love it. I love good heartwarming stories. And my mom was always like, Maria, people, they want to see the good things.
yes.
And I'm like, but mom, the news outlets don't want that. It doesn't sell. So I guess like we could probably have a really good chat about how difficult it is in the news landscape. And obviously I feel like it's only gotten worse. To want to amplify those stories, that's not really selling in the news. That's not getting eyeballs. Fear mongering is getting eyeballs.
It's interesting. It's a very interesting topic. I think that more and more I'm seeing networks and outlets, and I feel like everyone's now creating a good news page, and I feel like a lot of networks are pivoting because there was that preconceived notion, like if it bleeds, it leads. But then they're seeing, wait, when we're posting this uplifting story, look at how many views, how many hits it's getting. So now I have the networks calling me to share my content. And it's just interesting how it changes. I think there's a real appetite now more than ever for positive news stories. And I think there always has been. And I think maybe the networks were a little afraid and hesitant to transition. They felt safe. We've got our ratings, we got our sponsor money, let's not mess with it. But I think now we're seeing in these dark times how these uplifting stories are really a beacon of light for people.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder, did you see and what do you think of John Krasinski's Some Good News?
I think that's great. I feel like there's space in this good news landscape for all of us, and he's a much loved personality. I mean, who didn't love The Office and his character in it? And it's funny, he's from Newton, and my
I
son
know.
was born in Newton, so we've corresponded a little bit with their executive producers, and
Oh,
you know,
really?
it's great. I think there's plenty of good news. Um, in the world. I mean, there's just limitless good news. It's easy for us to maybe think, I've had some reporters say, how do you find all the good news? And I said, there's a lot of it. It's just kind of creating a space, a platform to absorb all those stories. And yeah, I think there's a lot more good than there is bad in the world. That's for sure.
Yeah. Are you guys working on something together?
No, we've just corresponded, but who knows what the future holds.
Yeah. It's I think it is really important, and like you said, especially now. And that was the first thing I think when all of this was happening that all of us were gravitating to was, the Italians on the balconies, singing and dancing and all of that. I think I had reposted something, maybe even of yours now that I think about it. Um, or who knows? I don't know where I got anything from at that point. I was like, it was such a shocking time. And I was like,
It's such a blur.
yeah, it is such a blur. I'd have to go back and look. But I remember we were grasping for anything that seemed positive in those early days. And I know, like, when I worked at Nightly News, we always ended with a good story. And I thought
Right,
that was
the kicker.
yeah, I think it was a nice way to kind of wrap up a show. But I do feel like there's got to be a better balance, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think it's like a mental diet. It's what we're feeding ourselves. And if we consume bad news, we're going to feel kind of weighed down. We'll feel negative. But and there have been studies that have shown this, when we consume and nurture ourselves with positive news, we feel uplifted, we feel
Hmm.
inspired. So, I mean, I think each one of us has that, the power to decide, am I going to follow this account? Am I going to watch this newscast? So I think it's important to take care of that mental diet for sure.
We talk about that here all the time. Tony Robbins was on recently, and it's like you can feed your mind good, you can let the world feed your mind, or you can feed your mind, and then you can choose what you feed your mind, obviously.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right now, I've been feeding my mind a little too much Murder Hornet. Not gonna lie, that has been my
I mean,
obsession.
it's just when you see the word beheaded and murder, I mean, beheading bees. It's a bit daunting,
Yeah.
but day by day, I guess.
How do you vet the stories that come in? Because I think you're a one woman band. I shouldn't say one man band, a one woman band.
Yes, it's a great question. And I feel like in this day and age, especially in the internet, where it's kind of the wild, wild west, and a lot of these good news pages are emerging, and they're not run by journalists. And I think I encourage people to post them, but I do kind of err on the side of caution when I post something. If I'm doubtful about a story, I won't post it. I'll skip it. And I'll go directly to the source. A lot of times it can be dangerous if somebody sees a news report from another outlet, then they'll repost that. And then that's how kind of misinformation gets around. So I'm very careful, and I take the same rigor and process I do when I'm doing my own news story for a national network. So I take it very seriously, and I realize that there are a lot of eyeballs, and there are a lot of people that are trusting the information that I'm giving them.
How many things are you putting out a day?
Well, some days are busier than others. Today I wanted to prepare and look semi-decent for you guys. So I did one story. I'll get on it a little bit later, but some days are busier than others. I don't have a formula per se. I mean, I definitely want to do more than 2 a day. And some days there are more good stories coming at me, or I want to share positive news stories. But it varies day to day
Hmm.
for sure.
I also love when you say that there are so many stories we would have never heard of. And I think that's so true, because there are so many people that do beautiful things in this world, but they don't have a publicist running around and saying, guess what? This person did. You might want to put that
Exactly.
in the news.
Oh, it's so true, Maria. It's funny. My favorite reporter is a guy that nobody has even heard of, Boyd Hooper. He's in the middle of Minnesota, like maybe in a cornfield. I don't know where he lives. He lives in Minnesota, and he finds the most gorgeous stories. And he's really been an inspiration for me. And there are stories of an 83-year-old neighbor befriending a 4-year-old boy. That one actually, I think, made it onto the NBC nightly news afterwards. But, you know, it's amazing that as long as I have a way to receive this people's stories, which I do with Instagram, people message me. I think it's amazing to amplify stories that otherwise might not have been known, you know, of the unsung heroes. I mean, it's really a platform for a lot of unsung heroes that, you know, to give them their deserved spotlight. So I think it's really amazing. There was a story, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit more, but of a boy seeing in color for the first time. So he's wearing his principal gives him in chroma glasses to see in color, and it's the most beautiful reaction you can imagine. And it was the mom was the videographer and the producer, and sent and DM'd it to me. And so yeah, things are really changing in terms of how the news is reaching people, right?
Yeah. I know for me, even when I was recovering from surgery, that's all I was interested in was beautiful animal stories. So I was following the dodo, or just going down the rabbit hole of animals on Instagram that would just make me so happy. And I just think, you know, it is a really important thing to think about how much control you have over your mental state. And these things just feed that. They inspire action, which is why I love those stories. And, you know, even being somebody who can be on the other side of the camera at times too, I've always had a hard time with, you know, kind of the look at what I did moment, right? But then there are times when I'm like, okay, but it could inspire other people to do that. So it is good to share that. It just gets a little difficult. I was wondering, because this was trending this morning, if you got a chance to look at the whole hashtag expose CBS News. Did you get a chance to see that today?
No, sorry, I was getting ready.
No, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's apparently, and I have to, you know, read more on it. I mean, just reading a few articles isn't enough for me, but they were faking COVID testing lines. And so someone undercover was interviewing the nurses, and they're like, yeah, they just wanted it to look busy, and I guess, you know, for the shot. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. No, it's wild. And one must always maintain, you know, there's always the pressures and yeah, when it's a really important thing to, you know, everyday journalists are out there to you know, be very truthful in what they're showing, because that's what, you know, people are trusting. So
I know. Well, and then as I read on Twitter, there were, you know, in response to the stories where people kept saying, you know, there have been so many lies that people have been forced to say, nurses, funeral directors, or whatever. And I actually have heard the opposite in terms of lies, where in the beginning of all of this, I had friends whose friends were nurses, and they were being told not to say how many people had corona. That it was the opposite way. Like they were like, you don't even want to know how bad it is, and they won't let us tell you. Were you hearing any of that?
it's interesting. No, it hadn't happened to me personally, but and it's an interesting dynamic, right? Where you have public relations from a hospital, you know, wanting to show one thing, and everything gets filtered through them, right? Unless you have a rogue doctor or nurse who's like, listen, I just want to share my story. So yeah, it's challenging, I think, for reporters to kind of navigate past the PR and get the real story, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be
Well, even
challenging.
like Stephen was saying that, you know, the hospitals are incentivized to take care, like they're getting subsidies, and there is an interest on everybody's part in different ways. So I'm kind of glad in a weird way that I'm not involved in it anymore, because I do find that getting to the truth is maybe harder than ever.
Yeah. And I think with, you know, with good news, our focus mainly is, you know, uplifting and showing kind of how people overcome adversity. I think that's been a real focus, you know, for us. And it's funny. My first story ever on TV that was on a national network was about a girl with butterfly skin, epidermolysis bullosa. She didn't have her last layer of skin. And her life expectancy was, until 15 years old. She's still alive. But I had to do that story, and it was so difficult. And there's always also the question of, as a reporter, how to be sensitive in reporting people's struggles, right? How to respect people's space in difficult times. And I feel like that's also a question now for reporters of people who lost their family to COVID. And it's always a balance of respecting people's stories, but also seeing, what part of the story can I tell and how much of it can I tell. So yeah, there are definitely some challenges that maybe people don't see when they see the 2-minute newscast.
Totally. Well, let's talk some of your favorite stories. So
fun.
I know pre-pandemic, one of them was the child getting to see color for the first time. And maybe we're going to play that clip for the purposes of everyone who can actually watch it right now, not just our audio listeners. Can you play that, Stephen? So he's about to put on how come we can't hear it? He's putting on the glasses. And
so what do you think then?
He's looking around. Oh, and he's crying. Oh.
That's awesome. Hey, come here.
Oh my God. How old is he?
I can't remember his age at the top of my head.
Looks like he's probably 12.
Yeah, exactly. Preteen.
Oh, he's hysterically crying. He took them off to wipe his tears, and now he's trying to wipe them so he can get them back on. He's like, wait, I need to see this again. Wow. Oh man, I never saw this. So now he's going up to a color chart. He's looking at all the colors. Wow.
Don't you want to touch them?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that was sent in to you?
From the mom, directly from the mom. And actually, we were the first to publish it. And then I think it was on Entertainment Tonight on all these different outlets. And they ended up fundraising Enchroma glasses for people that can't afford them. So again, I think what's cool about the page is that not only does it share good news, but it's a vehicle to connect people that want to help with people who need help. It's incredible when people just simply ask for help, how many people are willing to help. I mean, it's just astounding. And I think that's one of the things that surprised me the most about running the page is constantly, if they see anyone struggling, I just get flooded with messages of people wanting to help. And I think in times like these, I mean, you probably remember the Mr. Rogers quote, of Fred Rogers talking to his mom and saying, oh, there's so much scary things on the news. And the mom was saying, but look for their helpers. There are always helpers. And I think that's so true. Even in the most dire moments, we've gone through, in the past, hurricanes, depressions, wars, and people have really bound together in those times. And I think we're seeing that now.
Totally. Yeah. I just started thinking, guys, we should have DM'd Michelle the koi fish story. We had a moment right before Christmas. It was Christmas Eve, I think, where there was a water main break just above the hill behind me, and it flooded out this 92-year-old's koi pond. He was a World War II vet, I think. I'm getting some of the details a little hairy here, but he was a vet, and the fish ended up down the street. So in the morning, my dad said, he called me, he goes, Maria, you gotta see, there's a big red fish in the street. You're not gonna believe it. And so I hung up with him, finished my coffee, and I was like, I'm curious. I gotta go see this. So I got my neighbor and I said, let's go look. And we're wearing our rain boots because we knew it had been raining, so there's gonna be a lot of flooding. And what we came upon was not just one big red fish. He had lost some 64. They were all over the street dying. And so I quickly started bear hugging them, grabbing them, and I found a trash barrel that was filled with water. I was like, okay, we'll put them in there. And then I found more in there because some other neighbor had collected some through the night. And so we're collecting the fish. I remembered that there was a neighbor that had a pond of some sort. Maybe we can put them in there for now. And, we collected all the fish. It was the craziest day ever. It was a full day of rescue. And then
Oh my gosh, you're the unsung hero, Maria.
neighbors were coming together because I created a neighborhood watch. So we were texting the neighborhood to find out whose fish they were. Well, everyone started coming with buckets to collect them and put them in their koi ponds to save them. It was this whole major thing. Then, of course, my investigative powers, as we were walking home exhausted, I look to my left and I look up the hill and I see the water stream coming down. I go, guys, our job isn't done. We have to find out where these fish came from. So we walked up the hill. And we found out where they came from, and the poor man had been crying. Like, it was so sad. And the news ended up seeing our Instagrams because we were filming this so that our neighbors could be watching at the same time. We were like, no one's going to believe what's happening, first of all. Second of all, we needed help fast. And so... so it was like Christmas Eve. We were on the local news here in LA. It was funny, but what was beautiful about that story is that an entire neighborhood came together to save fish. I know people come together to save cats and dogs and whatever, but to save fish, it seemed like such a strange thing. And this World War II vet, it was such a beautiful moment. So when his koi pond reopened, he wanted to have an opening, and he's like, please, Maria, will you invite everyone who helped you in the whole neighborhood?
Oh, I love it.
And so
That's
we
great.
helped him put the party together, and it was really nice. And then the
koi fish
coronavirus
party.
happened.
Oh.
It was
I hope you enjoyed the koi fish party.
We did.
before this all.
We enjoyed. Okay, so there was another story pre-pandemic about that you really loved. Share that one with us.
So was it the street vendor?
Yeah.
So this was actually the beginning of a pandemic. And in Latin America, we have some street vendors here, but more in Latin America. And in Colombia, there was a man selling candy, and he's selling it for maybe $1, a little bag of candy for $1. And this couple, instead of giving him $1, they gave him $100. And it's the sweetest reaction of this man. He just couldn't believe it. He's like, really? And he starts crying. And he said, it's really going to help me because I don't have food at home. And the cool thing about that is when I posted that, I had people in Colombia message me, wanting to help the street vendors. So it was really amazing to see how inspired people were. And I think that story was so touching because my grandfather in Cali, Colombia, he saw a street vendor. This is, decades and decades ago. And he brought him into his home, gave him new clothes, gave him a new job. And that street vendor still works for my family, and he's in his 80s. So it was very emotional, I think, for me, and just a beautiful moment I think people really enjoyed seeing. So it's really a nice outlet into what's happening, not only in the US, but around the world, because I have people write me from China, from Africa, South America, France, and luckily I know languages, so it's helpful for sure. But it's really a movement. When I reached 1 million, I had people make a video saying we are good news movement because we are the good news. And it's true. The good news is within each of us. We're all carrying these good news stories, like you with the koi fish, and I'm sure lots of stories, and your cancer survival story. These are all beautiful stories that people have. Yeah. And it's just connecting and giving them an outlet to share them. So I think it's great that people send me stories no matter where they are, no matter what condition they're in, poor, rich, small country, big country, wherever you are, there's always good happening.
I love it. Sorry, Stephen, I thought there was a video for that. You can stop panicking. I was like, can you cue up the next video?
I could reenact it, but it wouldn't be that good.
Stephen was like, I could just see him in there. And I'm like, oh God, poor thing. He's like stressing out. And then I look down and I see there's no video for this one. Okay. So 2 stories during the pandemic that you loved. One of them was the exercise instructor teaching from his roof. We do a video of that. So explain that and then we'll play the video.
Yeah. So I must say the Mediterranean are the most creative during pandemic because one man got on his roof and he's giving an exercise class to people on their balconies, and a lot of people showed up. So it was really great. And that was in Seville, Spain.
Okay. Do you have that video, Stephen? Let's see it. It doesn't look like he's on a roof here. Looks like he's coming out his front door.
This is actually the old man you sent as well, Michelle, but we do have the workout video as well.
Oh my God, this is the, okay, so
the old man, do you want me to describe the veteran who's dancing?
Yeah, let's talk about the veteran, then we'll call back to the exercise video as well.
Okay, perfect.
We'll get the hang of this, guys. I promise. We are going to figure out how to get this.
Live TV, I'm used to it, no problem. So there was a veteran, and it was just a sweet moment that he was dancing on his in front of his home. He's dancing to Justin Timberlake, and then Justin Timberlake saw it and shared it, and then I got some other videos of veterans dancing. So it was really fun and sweet.
He's so
to
cute.
see
I
him.
love seeing him come out
Yeah.
of the porch dancing. Okay,
You
so
reminded
let's
me
go
so
to
much of Coast Sauce, Maria. That was part of the reason I put it in. I could so see your dad doing this.
let's go to the instructor teaching from his roof. Do you have that video, Stephen?
Jeff, can you send it to me, please?
Yeah, you know,
Steven's
I just
angry.
did.
He's like, give it to me now, Jeff.
I know. I think, yeah, Steven, it should say exercise instructor in your email if I
It's
send it
fine.
your way.
It's fine. We can add it to the summary, to the link in the summary, and you guys can see it for yourself. But I remember that video actually when you posted it. I think that this is so great what you are doing. I am a huge fan, which is why I wanted you to come on the show and share with us. And I just wanted to say thank you for what you're doing. You're spreading light and love and inspiration.
Thank you. And I think you also have that same spirit. So when you guys reached out, I was like, oh, she's just such a like bubbly, kind, likable person. So yes, I think I confirmed within a minute of you guys emailing me.
Thank you. Well, if we can ever be helpful, you let us know. Maybe we do
Likewise,
like a
thank
good
you.
news movement segment of the week or something,
I love it.
right?
Yeah.
Let's do
I
it.
love that.
All right, cool. Jeff will make it happen.
Absolutely.
Michelle, you guys can find Michelle on Instagram at goodnews_movement. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. I loved our chat. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Take care. We'll see you in Boston when we can travel again.
Yes, I know. I'm waiting for that day.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. She
Very
was cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
So fun.
I love when people just do, again, we talked about this a little bit. It's like, what does your soul want? What does your soul need? And for her soul was saying, I want good news. I want to give good news. And, you know, rather than just saying, well, why don't these people want it? And like trying to rage against the system, you know, don't go where you're tolerated, go where you're celebrated. And sometimes you have to create your own thing to be celebrated in, right?
Yeah, and it's just like it's funny because so many people are getting the press for the good news that John Krasinski's doing, and I think it's awesome that they're like kind of talking together.
Yeah.
And it's like people have been doing this. It's just so hard to get a concept out to the public through any platform, let alone Instagram.
Yeah, but see, is it hard? She just did it. It's like Kevin always says, less think, more do. So if you're out there and you have an idea for something, like just get to it. Obviously, don't, go, creating something that there's so much overhead that you need 50 employees and just to start off, like do something small and simple that you can handle that reflects your values, your character, your personality, and just do it. Like that's what we did here, right? I know that the show that I wanted to do was not the show that Sirius necessarily wanted. They wanted just celebrity interviews, and I didn't want to do just celebrity interviews. I had been doing that for forever, 20 years. I wanted to do things that help me get better. And when I look at, and it's funny, I did it recently where I kind of just started taking stock of who am I, right? I'm someone who's always loved to share information. I've always been on a journey to get better. I've always loved learning. When you look at my books, that's exactly what they are. They're, sharing information. Oh, helping people. Always loved helping people. So that's what this show really has become because this is who I am. And when you do what's authentic to you, eventually, as long as, you really do believe in it and it really is built in integrity and authenticity, like you'll find your way. We're finding our way.
Can't fake it.
Not for long.
Yeah.
Not for
It's
long.
one of the things that I really connected with her when we chatted yesterday too, Maria, is this whole thing was just like nose to the grind. I'm going to do it. And
Yeah.
it's funny. I was asking her like, what's been your favorite moment? What are the highlights? And she's like, it's cool when I get retweeted and it's cool when celebrities follow me. But really for me, I just love the hard work and just putting I was like, was there any moment when you knew? And she was like, no, really, it's just been day by day getting better and better. It just reminded me a lot of you and Kev. It's like, rather than trying to cling to those milestones, it's just putting in those 10,000 steps every day. And eventually you'll create something incredible.
I got my 10,000 steps in yesterday. Literally,
You
just
sure did.
Before
prepping.
11, right?
Anyhow, yeah, I think if you're out there, this is actually such a good time to just sit with your thoughts and take stock of what you really, really want, because it shifts, it changes, you grow, your desires change, your needs change. That's why, I've said this before. I always say, like, before you turn 40, like, really look at life and say, is this the direction I want to keep going in? Because this could be the moment where you're like, let me take a left turn and do something completely different. Life is short. Why not, like, go after things and try new things? We're so afraid of failure that we don't really get to live. And that's so crippling and so not fun. Reinventing yourself is really cool. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our next segment, because we have another one today, is a couple that inspired me when I saw them trending like all over the world for their social distance wedding. So Aaron Meyers and Amanda Mason are a newlywed couple now who both work for the government in DC, and they were featured in the Washington Post by Lisa Bonos. Thank you, Lisa, for helping connect us. And they were highlighted for their beautiful social distance wedding. We're going to play some of the highlights that we have here, and then we will chat with them.
With a truly unique, caring community, which is obviously hard to come by these days. So when we were trying to figure out our wedding backup plan, we couldn't think of a better option than this fairy tale setting. We would like to give a special thanks to both Megan and Colette for helping us pull the neighborhood together and making this happen.
So cute.
You may now kiss the bride.
I love this.
Champagne bottle here, and then let me give a toast to the newly married couple.
I kiss the bell I dream on.
This is the cutest wedding ever. They're dancing in the street, in their neighborhood. Guys, I mean, if you can't have your official planned out wedding, Aaron and Amanda are inspiration for how to get it done no matter what and still make it special and meaningful. How are you guys? Welcome.
We're good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Good. Thank you. So you guys were planning your wedding, and all of a sudden coronavirus strikes. How did
It was going along stress-free.
What did you say?
It was going along stress-free.
Which is not normal either, by the way.
No, I thought we were going to jinx it, and apparently we did.
So what was the plan initially?
So the initial plan was to get married. It's called the DC War Memorial. It's a small monument just off of the mall downtown in DC. And so we were going to have the ceremony there, and then we were going to do our reception at our favorite restaurant, Estadio. So all of that got put aside pretty quickly.
And so at what point did you realize, okay, our wedding, when was your actual wedding, the one you did?
April 25th.
Okay. And was that the day you were supposed to get married all along?
Yes.
Okay. So at what point did you decide, okay, we're going to go do this anyway? And how did the idea of doing it in your neighborhood come about?
Well, we originally, so everything has our wedding date on it, and we still wanted it to be applicable. And we didn't want to wait until November or later to get married. So we were going to do a small ceremony with our parents. And so we had a backup plan. And then something with the governor's orders, the mayor's orders, put that on hold. And so we adjusted it a little bit, and we were going to maybe just do it at their house instead of at the memorial or at the park.
Because there was this period I remember where they said, well, gatherings of 10 are okay. So we said, okay, well, we'll just get some close family and do this at a very small ceremony with just our parents and maybe some other close friends and family. And then, of course, that changed again as soon as it went from 10 people and less to please stay at home unless you have to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, and so when we realized we couldn't have our parents there, it went from being an intimate ceremony with our closest family to being just us. And so we didn't really know where to go from there. And so we had considered doing a Zoom wedding. And then we said, well, if we're going to do a Zoom wedding, we might as well open it up to all of our guests. So we decided to do that. But it all seemed very lonely to do it in our house or in our backyard, our tiny backyard. And our street is just a very friendly neighborhood. And we had a social distancing happy hour one day. And I said, you know what, maybe we should just get married out here in the middle of the street. And a couple of the neighbors that I was speaking with absolutely loved the idea. And they're like, absolutely do that. So we thought about it for a while, and we were hesitant to make any plans just because something might ruin them again. So we waited until about the week of the Monday of our wedding to send an email out to neighbors and actually get that plan in place.
I love that. And so, walk us through kind of how it went together, because there was a woman by the name of Colette that had a big role in this. Tell me about that.
Well, sure. She's I would say the unelected mayor of our block here,
Okay.
and definitely is kind of like helps kind of pull the our neighborhood together. It's kind of like a glue for us here. And she just like jumped on this and was like, "Oh, this is amazing. We'll like do X, Y, Z. We'll like close the block. We'll clear these cars out. We'll make this like a thing." So she was instrumental, along with some other neighbors too, to just kind of just really grab and run with this idea that we kind of had a loose idea of what we wanted to do, and then they just kind of really helped kind of crystallize it and like bring it to life for a lot of our neighbors here.
Yeah, but we didn't really know any of that was happening. She reached out to neighbors on our behalf about closing the street and kind of like the logistics about it. And we kind of just invited everybody to come to their porches and watch this happen. And we weren't really like making an event out of it so much, just that, be with us. We would love to have you present for this occasion. And it just really like evolved into something totally different because of Colette and all of our neighbors.
So for everybody who wasn't there or hasn't seen any video, and I've only seen very little and I was blown away, tell me what everybody did that just moved you and blew you away.
Well, I remember we were, Amanda, who was a photographer by trade, was shooting our wedding herself, and we were out on the street at 3 p.m, like doing some of those kind of typical like wedding party pictures that I'm sure you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of quiet and empty out there, and we kind of went back inside, and then we came back out, and all of a sudden there were these kind of, our neighbor has a young daughter who had drawn little like hearts and chalk all along out front of our house, like kind of down the sidewalk. And we're kind of like, okay, some people seem to be jumping on this.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden people out, and they were hanging these like paper coffee filters as like fake flowers, like down the street.
They apparently made 100 of them overnight.
Oh. And you didn't know any of this was going to happen?
No. The people were hanging lights up on their like garden gates.
String lighting.
Oh my God,
everyone had like a nice, like very like nice sign. Everyone had like a little custom sign to call it and pass out all this paper to everybody. We actually still have we actually collect the signs like downstairs. We're saving them for something.
Wow. And so everyone came to their porches.
Yeah, either the porches or like the sidewalks in front of their houses.
It's kind of like a little stoop. You can kind of like walk out to like the sidewalk from where everyone's house. It's kind of like it's kind of like narrow row homes here where we live.
Did people dress up?
They did. I was very surprised. I didn't realize it at first, and then I started. I think some of our neighbors were out setting up, and then they went in and changed to get dressed up and came back out before we got started. So I think everybody really had fun with it. It was pretty amazing.
I remember joking with Amanda and said, "This is the first time I've worn a collar in like 6 weeks." And then we look around, and like some people are in like sport coats, or they're in like formal like evening wear, like the things you would wear to like a cocktail reception. It was even funny that some people, even on the Zoom feed, our friends who are not necessarily in the area, were also dressed up too.
Aww.
It was very cool.
So
and we had little Spider-Man and Elsa in attendance as well.
oh my God. I feel like you guys had a blend of both of my weddings. Like I was in Times Square and like Cookie Monster was out there and Batman and all this stuff. And then in Greece, we did a wedding where the whole village kind of came together and they did the same thing. They decorated and we invited the whole village to come. I just wanted everybody there to be a part of it. And so it's kind of funny, but I think, I wonder, you guys did you have like a priest or somebody, a judge marry you? How did that part work?
So in DC, you can marry yourselves.
No way.
I actually am the officiant of record on the marriage license.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we picked up the marriage license like just 2 days before they shut down the courts, so we got that just in time.
Wow.
And we wanted somebody else to kind of lead the ceremony, which was our original plan anyway.
Yeah, and I remember we met with a few officiants, and none of them really gelled with us. We didn't feel any kind of connection to them, and then we were looking at our guest list and said, well, if we're not going to bring someone in, let's look at our guest list. And then my dad seemed like the logical choice, and he just jumped at it and really kind of took it on and did a great job.
Wow. And so you guys are in the middle of the street, you're being married, we saw the clip, you can kiss the bride, the whole thing happened. Then what? You guys were dancing in the street. How long were you out there for, and what went on from there?
Well, I remember I popped some champagne and my dad gave like a toast on Zoom. And then our neighbors had offered to cue up the music. We've been like working on a first dance.
Barely working on it, but
there was some practice, a little bit of practice. And then, so you cue the song up and it starts to go. And then within like 10 seconds, I think their like speaker battery died or something.
Oh no.
So I remember kind of turning on and saying like, all right, time out. We're gonna reload this for a minute. And I was like fumbling with my phone because I had the laptop that we're doing the Zoom call on, hooked up to like a Bluetooth speaker, just so everyone on the street could hear what was coming through the computer. And thankfully it just worked. I mean, it never works quickly, and it just kind of popped it over, and then we got to do our redo of our first dance again.
But we couldn't dance in my skirt because of course we hadn't practiced that, and I guess like it was kind of clinging to the texture of the street.
Oh no.
Material. So that wasn't going too well. We felt like just like very awkward. But I had a jumpsuit on, so I had the option of just kind of stripping off the skirt in the middle of the street. So I did.
Oh my God.
And then we continued on with the rest of our dance, and people really got a kick out of it. So
that's so cute. Okay, so when you think about everything that happened, how do you feel about your wedding now?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was more than we could have asked for. I mean, I would say it was perfect, but we really, we would have really loved to have our family and friends there to see it in person. But I mean, even just thinking about, because we have everything tentatively rescheduled for November with the restaurant and things. But, just seeing how amazing it was, we're kind of like, okay, well, we definitely don't need another ceremony. We don't need to do that again because that was awesome.
Yeah, I remember just being blown away at like on that the wedding day, just like an outpouring of just love and just like a sense of like very tight knit community from everyone who kind of came out just to. On the one hand, you could feel that people were anxious. They were just, everyone's at home and there's not a lot to do, so people were kind of itching for something. But at the same time, like it was just a very very warm and like this is like an amazing experience to share with these folks. And then it was kind of quiet. Like the next 2 days, we did our like honeymoon at home because obviously our honeymoon to Europe was canceled, and then the mini moon we planned to Georgia was also canceled. So we were just hanging out at home, and then the article dropped on Tuesday, and then it's like it blew up all of a sudden again. And then again, after we kind of just like that was so beautiful and nice, and then Tuesday just kind of, you got the feeling that all these, Washington Post readers and people who were seeing like the coverage were like looking for something very just kind of non-COVID, just like death related, non-pandemic related. And I felt like a lot of people just kind of jumped on it. We got a lot of very, very heartfelt messages from
Yeah,
strangers.
it was like an outpouring of love and support all over again.
I mean, literally today we received a wedding gift from someone who read the Washington Post article.
Aww.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, you guys got like multiple love
music,
bombs. It's like you guys got multiple love bombs that just keep coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so special.
It seems like people are sharing in our joy, so I'm glad that it's brought a smile to people's faces for them as well.
I have to ask, Amanda, does this change your perspective on weddings at all?
I kind of wanted something small and intimate anyway, and we were keeping our guest list to around 100. So I think this just reaffirmed, what I thought about the meaningful parts of weddings. I didn't want it to be a performance. I didn't want it to be just a show for other people. I wanted to be able to be in the moment. And so this was definitely all of that. But I also love that we were able to reach out to our extended community that wouldn't have been with us otherwise on that day. And, it's like a combination of small and intimate, but you have more people with you and more love around you. So I don't know. I just I loved how it was casual, but there was like just so many people you're surrounded by, whether it was virtually or in person.
Yeah, it's almost like the things were replaced with like such pure love and joy that the things didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I felt with mine too. And I could feel the same energy with yours. It's like we especially as women, because weddings end up being kind of a dream moment for, most, we get so wrapped up in having to have perfection and the details and the this and the perfect food and the perfect flowers and the perfect this, that when you kind of give up all of that, you end up getting something so much more in return instead.
Definitely. You can kind of refocus your energy and your attention onto the things that are important. And, it was also kind of nice because like the neighborhood kids came out and they built us an altar with like dried flowers and potted plants. And there was a moment where I was like, well, I wouldn't have necessarily put that there because the street is beautiful. But everybody was like making it their own event, and I'm glad that they did, and I'm glad that they were a part of it, and it became this kind of more of just like a communal thing rather than just about me or about us.
It's so cool. I love this story. Ah, such a great, great story, and I'm so happy for you guys, and hopefully your November party goes off without a hitch, and you guys can just dance and party all night long with all of your friends. Maybe what I would do is like up on screen replay the ceremony for everybody. Yeah. Here you go. I don't have to get all dolled up again. Here you go. Now let's party. Anyhow, we wish you guys many, many, many years of happiness and joy, and all the best to you guys in your future.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. Nice to meet you guys.
You too.
That is so cool. What a good story. I loved their wedding, and I loved getting to hear more of the details. But it's true, like, I know that with the New Year's Eve wedding, it was kind of a last minute thing, and all we had was our dress and tux and wedding rings, and I had my two best friends with me. And it was so simple and so much better that way, rather than having to be like, oh my God, I need everything. And having Cookie Monster in the back of my shot in Times Square was everything, and Batman. I mean, just simple and fun. It was really about me and Kevin and my parents and our, Kevin's best friend and we're all best friends, all of us. So it was just 3 people. Like, it was awesome. And then in Greece, it was the same kind of thing. Like, they made it their own. So when I got to the village, they had decorated, the house we were going to go get changed and ready in, and everybody was there to help. And it was really amazing.
Pictures from your Greek wedding are crazy.
I mean, honestly, I must DM my friends who put that together every month or so being like, I still cannot believe what you guys did. It was so beautiful. But I feel like weddings have become so commercialized and so much about like being perfect that, you know, it really is. I think there's something to be said about like asking for some help, right? I don't think weddings should be bankrupting people. Not that they're bankrupting you in the beginning, but eventually they'll get you because the bills will add up. But, you know, why start off a marriage with so much debt? Why not like ask family and friends if they'll help you do something in your backyard and make it beautiful? Like, you know, if you do it somewhere where, like we had Mackenzie's wedding at our house, you know, she, you know, didn't have a lot to spend on her wedding. And so we hosted it at our house. And, you know, my dad was building her altar and Kevin and all of her friends got together and they were all building and fixing and setting up and, you know, making it a homegrown wedding. And it was so much more special that way, I feel like.
Yeah, it's more intimate.
Yeah.
It's more intimate, and you're not, again, like, yeah, that $10,000 could go
10?
so...
10?
No.
That's just like
That's
for
like a
two
small
things.
one, yeah.
That's like for two things. 2 items off the list.
How much would you... The average American, how much do you think they would spend on their wedding?
I think they're spending like, I don't know, upwards of 60.
$60,000?
I think so. Jeff, did you guys spend a lot of money on your wedding?
We didn't spend that much, but also we threw ours in the Midwest. So things are a lot less expensive there than they are on the coasts. And I feel like we had a pretty upscale wedding, but no, we did not spend that much. But I totally agree with you, Maria. I mean, I think if you make your wedding too much of a production and too much about everything needs to be perfect, you're kind of setting yourself a tough bar for marriage too. You know, some of the beauty of marriage is that it's improvisational and it's unpredictable. And I think a lot of people talk about if they really throw their dream wedding and go all out, there's a bit of a crash afterwards because all of a sudden you wake up and here's real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's also like, it takes, to plan a wedding that big takes what, 6 months to a year or more, right?
Over a year. Yeah.
So you're spending every waking moment of your free time planning an event, and then once that's over, you have this like suction cup of time.
It's like, what now?
Yeah, and then you're probably going to have a little bit of stress from that, and that's going to come out in your marriage and then cause some things like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think that there are ways to do it where you can have a beautiful experience without having to do all that. Like you can simplify things, you know?
Just a church, an open bar, and 2 rings.
I just think like, you know, you can do stuff if you have a backyard. It doesn't even have to be that massive. Like you can, you know, make it a buffet, which now has to be a lot safer. You know, throw up some string lights. Like there's a way to make it so like cozy and beautiful without a lot of money. It makes me want to go into like cheap wedding planning because I really feel like I could do it on a crazy little budget. And in fact, there's a side of us that has always secretly wanted to just throw weddings in Connecticut for people that don't have money, because we have everything that you would need there to be able to do it. Like it would be so cool.
The house back there is great for weddings.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I think
the other advice I would give too is just like try to put one unique stamp on your wedding. Don't feel like you have to fill the boxes of what every magazine is telling you and blog is telling you. My sister, when she got married, she coincidentally married someone whose last name was also Graham.
No way.
So,
no way.
I know, isn't that hilarious?
No way. So she got to keep her last name?
She got to keep her last name. We sometimes joke she doesn't like change, and we're like, you didn't just marry him to avoid change, right? And she's like, no, he's the one. But for their dessert, rather than cake, or it might have been in addition to cake, they handed out s'mores wrapped in tinfoil, and they said, this is the union of 2 grams. And like, it's that kind of stuff that people remember.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool because we had obviously Edward Peretti on before, and he was like telling us how like the weddings and the events you do, like, why are you following the traditions of other people and finding all these things that other people want to do? Like, what is something specifically about you that speaks to you?
Yeah.
That other people can now take part in, whether that's your collection of sneakers or whatever it is. Like, how can we make the wedding a stamp on what you and your significant other's relationship has been and will be?
Yeah. And also, like, how do you want it to make you feel? Like you feel, you know, I feel like when I was putting together our wedding in Greece, which we had a month to do, I was like, I don't want to deal with invitations. We're just going to call people and we're going to tell people word of mouth. Like, so I called my friend Marietta. I said, you tell all of our friends, and then you tell all of our friends. And we just like, we did it so casually. And then I was like, I don't want like centerpieces, whatever. Just let's throw some lemons on the table. Like, I was like, I don't want, you know, I don't want all of these formal kind of things. I just want it like simple and easy, because I feel like that's what made me not want to have a wedding for so long too, was how complicated the process seemed. So once I realized that I could take ownership of how I wanted it to be done in a different way and say, yeah, I don't want all those traditional things. I want it to be like this. Then things kind of fell into place. And then of course, you know, my dad got involved and there was a horse-drawn carriage. But I kind of just like let everybody do whatever they did. And I was like, whatever, I'm just going to go for the ride. It's going to be fun. I was kind of a groom and a bride all in one. And I know my situation's a lot different than the average person because, you know, people came together and did something so beyond my imagination. I was very lucky for that. So anyhow, good news, weddings, all kinds of things. This was a really beautiful episode. Thank you guys for joining us. As always, if you haven't signed up for Patreon, please do. We do a really cool episode every week there. You can just click the link in the summary and join us at whatever level. Of course, Mr. Patreon does show up there and he is a treat. If you haven't already set your DVRs to May 17th, I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, the Beverly Hills Dog Show presented by Purina. I will be there. Tomorrow, we have a very special Mother's Day episode. We are going to be making lemon butter and milk pancakes with Miss Giada De Laurentiis. And we're going to also unveil my gift guide. So anyhow, thank you guys as always. Hope you had a great day with us and hope the rest of your day is even better. You can follow us at Maria Menounos, at Good News _movement, at Stephen Lemieux Photo, at Jeff Crane Graham. And remember, and at Amanda Joy Photographics for our beautiful wedding couple. And remember, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.